Alright, hello everybody and welcome to a Minecraft Musings on a Monday. Um, so yeah, it's just thinking about a couple of the things that we've been working on. So we got the communal thing going, basically, and it sounds kind of hokey unless you really describe it, like in detail. Like if you just say like, it's basically like rattling a tin cup. However, if you explain it as a point of the wealthy being able to give back to their community, and I'm talking, famous athletes, musicians, like, movie stars, all of that, giving back to their fellow people, in the form of like short-term loans, or it doesn't even matter what term, like just personal loans at a very low interest or even no interest. I mean, it depends on, now at the same time, it has to be sustainable, a sustainable business model. So, I mean, there should still be some interest tied to it, but at the same time, it's taking the power out of the brick and mortar bank, and not intentionally trying to hurt the banks, but like giving the power back to the common person. Purchasing power, their money, like being able to achieve the American dream, like, and that's a real trickle down if you want to think about it. The trickle down that doesn't feel like you're being trickled on, basically, because it's like the wealthy, especially like Wall Street people and stuff, people that made their money. Like if there's like a Wolf of Wall Street, you know what? You did some things, but hey, you have a lot of money. How about you Robin Hood it and you help a bunch of people, and you can still make money. I mean, granted, I'm not saying I support that kind of behavior. The Wolf on Wall Street was a ridiculous movie with, oh, it was like robbing, like Robin Hood robbing poor people to give to himself, basically. But but it's even the name of that trading app, Robin Hood. Like it's human nature to wanna, fight the oppression and take the power from the main. But at the same time, it can't be as ridiculous as that because we do need control of government and a form of order. But we need to loosen a lot of the things, the archaic ways of doing things. Like I've been watching a bunch of Better Call Saul. Oh, actually, wait, before we get onto that, I mean, that's some great social engineering and understanding human behavior and psychology, but the stuff that we've been talking about, communal. So, what if we do take a bunch of business from the banks? What if we do, like, make some people not have as good of jobs or something? I mean, it's kind of like, it's like Indiana Jones, that scene where he's trying to steal the golden idol and he has a sack of sand and he's going to try to replace the weight so he doesn't set off the trap. Or the trap, sorry. Um, almost went Akbar with it. It's a trap! But no, so you can't just take something without replacing it. Like it's an entire economy. It does affect everybody on Earth. And you think inflation was bad just because of, all the different whatevers with the COVID and everything. I don't claim to understand economics enough to really explain all that away, except for, well, especially when I hear people like Robert Reich talking about how the uber rich got even more rich during the pandemic. So, stuff like that. But, huh, you like to think that people are starting to understand things, and that was something that I wanted to work on. Still do. I mean, float the idea around as like a politics translator, a political translator. Because the problem is we've got these requirements on even being able to participate in government of either, well, sorry, I'm trying to think, because like, anybody can get involved. Sierra Club is a great example here of how you can get involved in like um, certain projects or things. Like currently, the one that I'm loosely helping with, like not really. See, I don't like canvassing. I don't like talking to people. I don't like doing any of that. But, I'll talk to you through these things, and just let you kind of see what you think about all this. And, you make your own decisions. And that's cool. I'm not pressuring you one way or another. And that is a big thing with all these things. Like, I mean, I'll talk about religion, politics, all that. If it's something you don't like, that's totally fine. You can disagree. Um, but these ideas, these thoughts. So, anyways, getting rid of a bunch of businesses that don't really need to be around. I mean, like money markets and stuff. Like to a point, yes. Like back in the day, we needed that in order to live the American dream. Now, well, it it's definitely a better life all around, but it could be even better. I mean, we want to talk about people in poverty, people worrying about their next meal, people experiencing homelessness, people. I mean, yeah, because it is alarming how many people are within one or two paychecks myself included. Like if I missed a couple paychecks, I'd be homeless. Like, you know. So, anyways, it's a concern. Plus, I mean, we have the technology now. We have the ability. Like it took me what 5, 10 minutes the other day to just make up a spreadsheet, change the permissions, use one of my other accounts, add myself to it, and then be able to, do an example of okay, this. In fact, I'm gonna go back and do a better example, just kind of show like the workflow. And it doesn't have to be me. Like that's the cool thing about it. I don't care one way or another about this. There is no profit to be made from it. There is no overhead, unless Google needs something. So that's something like we'd need to look at eventually, if it started making money. And by making money, I mean it is all purely going from. I don't know. I don't think there really needs to be anything tied to it because any kind of friction that you add to these types of things is going to help it not succeed. So, and the best way to be a Robin Hood is to not keep any for yourself. But at the same time, we can't go commit crimes and I'm not trying to rhyme. At the same time, we can't commit the crime that no, we can't go after the wealthy and just take their money. No. I mean, but if wealthy are like, "Hey, I want to help my fellow human," I'll loan him a bunch of money for like almost no interest, still be making money. See, so it's still like win-win. And someone who didn't even think it was possible, especially like owning a home. I mean, that's a little bit bigger than your casual loan, but say one wealthy person sponsors a family, you know, buys a house and loans it to them at like ridiculously low interest. I mean, and the spreadsheet can track everything. I think you could even, I mean, granted, if you really wanted to get more, I don't know. You want to be able to have a certain layer of transparency so you know people are doing it and it also encourages it to happen. But at the same time, if people want to remain private with their stuff, they could disguise their name too, or not. I mean, I almost feel like part of that is like yes, claiming that, and it's a fine line to walk because you don't want to be so prideful that look at me, I'm sponsoring all these poor people, or you know, look at me, I'm paying my dues to society. Thank you, I appreciate, because where did all the money come from for anyone that's wealthy? Society. Other people contributed to your wealth, whether it was their time, their research, their inventions, their hard work, like the minimum wage people at the bottom of the totem pole, like they hold the totem pole up, like they are the base. So, and this is kind of like a paying it backward, you know, or a repayment, a thank you, a grazie, a grazie. So I was about to say gracias, and then I was like a gratis, but I was like, no, that means free. So, anyways, my point is with a lot of that, and a lot of this is going to happen anyway. I mean, the more that cannabis gets legalized worldwide, like these types of ideas are going to start percolating to the top, and especially because it's well, and here's how: the biggest way, it's going to cause a safer alternative to alcohol, and that alone, in the places that are already used to alcohol, they're going to be finding out like, oh, look at that. In fact, I'm excited to see what Germany does with it because they've been notorious about their beer. They've been they've been on it. Beer engineering, unfortunately, got twisted to a very dark end, but you cannot deny the intelligence and like the. Anyways, sorry, but that's also why we need to keep a watchful eye because I mean, with great power comes great responsibility, and anyone is capable of that given the right circumstance. Because, granted, I mean, Hitler was on a lot of like crank and stuff at the time, and he was already pretty twisted, and I think he had a horrible upbringing. I mean, I feel like I remember studying that in one of the classes, like the trying to understand the how, like someone could get so twisted, and but at the end of the day, he wasn't an orc, or sorry, he wasn't an orc. Like we just did that trade right there to kind of, he's not a demon, a devil. There is no such thing. He is a man, a human. I really think we should start calling like He-Man, and he was a He-Man. There you go. Oh, that sounds like I'm supporting him. No, he was a total d-bag, and he deserved what came to him. But how do you prevent that? And I don't know. I also like to think that we're not gonna ever get to like that bad because even if someone starts slipping and starts ordering like executions and stuff, I mean, yeah. Although as I say that, like you'd think we'd be a lot safer in this day and age, and yeah, interactions with law enforcement can be deadly and is deadly in a lot of situations. And even interactions with just trying to use, well, sorry, I'm also thinking about like substance use in the wild, like whereas I feel like it's a bunch of razzle dazzle. Sorry, let's back up a little bit. Um, oh, and I don't have any water. Uh, so if I was a government and I was trying to make something happen, I don't know, it just feels like a story. We have prohibition, we have alcohol banned back in the day, the 20s, I think it was, and the birth of gangs, mafia, like, people working outside the law to still provide goods and services that they thought were acceptable, but were not thought acceptable by the government for whatever reason, whether it was for their actual health and safety. I mean, you know, the Food and Drug Administration trying to like categorize things, but yet alcohol. And I know, like I just said, we tried to ban it once upon a time, but it's so destructive. Like you can die so many ways from alcohol, either directly or indirectly using alcohol. Drunk driving and crashing is the biggest example. Like that is one of the, it's a huge killer, especially of teenagers, prom, after prom, all that. Like one of my buddies in high school, he died. Um, he passed away. I think he was not even 18, maybe 17 or 18. I think he was a young one. I mean, I remember him being one of the, at least I think, I don't know. My buddy, I even spoke at his funeral. As it, we're getting ready to head off to college or whatever. I think I was headed to the Marine Corps, but I mean, again, it didn't make it farther. So, anyways, not a Marine, but no, yeah, and I had to speak at my buddy's funeral, and well, not that I had to, I would do it again, but all of this life that I get to live, he doesn't, and he was drunk driving. He was actually going to get more liquor for a party, and he crashed, and he died. The person with him, our buyer, was fine. I wasn't even there that night, too. Those ones I wasn't invited. Well, actually, I can't even remember, but I know I wasn't there. Actually, I don't even know if I thought that too. I wasn't there at that time. I don't remember where I was, but I just seem to remember thinking like, oh yeah, like, because then I would have thought it was more profound. Like, man, I just saw him that night. I was there that night. Because don't get me wrong, I've definitely been in a lot of situations like that. Like that kid that jumped off of the roof at Rams Village. I was there. I was at the pool partying with a bunch of pikes. Not because I wanted to, because I was trying to, figure out, like, I was watching them, but also like trying to figure out, just spying on them. So a little backstory: Pi Kappa Alphas are a fraternity that are banned from CSU. They let a girl die from alcohol. She was drunk. They put her in a closet and they just forgot about her, or just like left her there. They're like, I don't want to deal with that. Rather than trying to feed her water, go put her in someone's bed or like on the couch, or what normal people in college are most normal, because it was just allowed. Like, I don't know, and not all fraternities are like that in sororities. Like they're trying to do a lot better, and I don't even know a lot because I haven't really been inside a lot of them. But I've dated sorority girls, and anyways, it doesn't matter. My point is, pikes are trouble, and that's what alcohol can lead to, unchecked. And excessive alcohol over long periods of time and just poor decisions and no real authority to be like, hey man, that's kind of messed up. No, what you had was a bunch of people shifty eyed be like, wait, we can get away with this? We can do this? And then giving into primal, urges like lust, just trying to, in fact, one dude that couldn't even make it into a pike. I say that we've talked since, we've kind of made up, but he still hasn't made up for his transgressions. I don't know if he ever will, but he might be listening to this. So I mean, if you are, you know who you are. Anyways, I don't even know where I was going with it. Oh yeah, yeah. He bet me a bottle of vodka that he could sleep with 100 women his freshman year. Yeah, total predator status. So, anyways, the point being, I was there. And alcohol at the root of all of that. Even, the bet, the gamble was on alcohol. Like, but also kind of like bragging rights, notches in the bedpost, all that stuff you hear about. Again, it goes back to alcohol. Like, but now cannabis is coming around, and lo and behold, a lot of people could give a care less about alcohol. Now, there's still a problem. Like, you can't go to the bar and drink or drink cannabis. Like, I mean, well, actually, I say that you can. Like, they're coming up with like liquid cannabis drinks, but it's just the whole dynamic is different. So what we're gonna eventually see is probably smoke shops and lounges, maybe bookstores. I mean, they do bakeries in like Amsterdam. There's Eurotrip, that movie that kind of makes fun of that. It's like they think they're in a Dutch bakery that has hash brownies and stuff, or like cannabis products, and it's not. He's like, we are not. We don't sell ash brownies here. We're just a simple Dutch bakery. Now put your clothes back on, my boy. It's so funny because he's like freaking out and dancing on the thing. But anyways, and that is actually more the sativa. Like indica is more of a relax. laid back, like mellow. You're not gonna freak out like that. Sativa can also be a lot more potent, oftentimes. And I had a friend who freaked out in college. He had smoked some, and I don't know what it was, but he was from the Middle East, so he wasn't even supposed to be drinking, let alone doing the cannabis, the marijuanas. But and he had to go to the hospital, and they gave him some like it was some anxiety med that dissolved under the tongue or something. But exposure too. This poor kid, like he probably didn't have a lot of exposure, especially like alcohol and stuff. Whereas a lot of us here in America, we grow up having our first beer in grade school. Like, it's and not well. I'm sorry, that's more of like a mountain thing. City stuff. It's still not that far away because I mean, once you're a teenager, you got to go get a job, especially if your family's not so well off, and you want to have the finer things in life. Then you go work a job. Although I still did that up in the mountains, but then you got money and you're away from parental guardianship and all that, and you're around people that may have looser ethics and whatnot, and maybe go pick you up some alcohol or something. But anyways, and actually, I've heard it's really dangerous to pick up weed for people here in this in Colorado because someone was telling me that it's just like it's almost like a guaranteed prison sentence of like 4 years for supplying cannabis to a minor. I think that's because Colorado's being, super like trying to make extra sure that this doesn't blow back in our faces. Like, it's kind of an experiment. All of it is. And as we legalize it in more states across the country, it is going to continue to be a social experiment. Ohio. I was just reading an article that Ohio finally legalized it for recreational use, but there's nowhere to get it, and that's what the headline was. It was like it's now legal to consume cannabis and produce cannabis, but there's nowhere to get it. And don't worry, that's gonna fill pretty quick. I mean, when it happened, when it was legalized here in Colorado, like shops just popped up overnight, and there was so much back and forth. And like, it was amazing. I mean, we went from the days where you'd have to like drive with a convoy, like a three-car convoy, one front, one back, just to transport a clone somewhere, to now it's like you can throw a rock in it. Don't really throw rocks. That's dangerous. But you're within a stone's throw away from a dispensary at any given point, unless you're around a school, and there are a lot of schools in Larimer County. But yeah, I don't know. Between the money from the taxes and all that, the revenue, um, yeah, there's a lot left. My biggest thing, I'm just excited for the DUIs to start going down because they are dangerous. I mean, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, for those that don't know. Um, it is good at heart. Like it has a good, goal because I mean, like I just said, my friend died from a drunk driving incident and put the other friend in a hospital. I mean, he had a really rough time and it was all bad, all ugly, and then the families got ugly. But now that's a kid that doesn't get to go to college, that doesn't get to have his own kids. It's his family that doesn't have grandkids from him now. And like, all of these things snuffed out because of one fun night. Getting a little too rowdy, like, and too. I was in some cars like where I was just like, you better not. You're gonna crash. You're gonna kill us. Like, the teenage brain, trying to show off for people. Anyways, rest in peace, buddy. You know who you are, and if there is an afterlife, he knows. So it's the only funeral I've actually spoken at, but I thought about it the one day. Tons of friends. Anyways, I'm gonna go get some water real quick. So enjoy the peaceful music. I'll be right back. Ah, anyways, so enough about that. Suffice to say, is I told the Pope today. That's never gonna like lose its entertainment for me. The fact that I can just talk to the Pope. I mean, he's probably not listening. It's probably being looked over by one of his people. But surprised they didn't block me up. I'm trying to be respectful too. But today I said something. I was like something about the devil's sweat, and then I said alcohol, and that is probably gonna strike a nerve with some people. But still, because a lot of like more religious type people follow what the Pope says, and then they'll comment on stuff if someone's being ridiculous. And I try not to get to that point where I'd offend somebody, but just making people think. Because, and I'm still not saying like we shouldn't go to prohibition. We should still let people be free to, drink alcohol and consume alcohol, and be able to celebrate it and be able to learn the lessons of it. Because, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. Nobody is impervious to alcohol's negative effects. Like everybody has a drunk story. basically what that means. Like everybody who's consumed alcohol has a drunk story, and now the Middle East is actually starting to adopt alcohol. Specifically, I've seen firsthand Dubai. It was quite the party place. Club blah blah. I went there with one of my old college roommates, my brother, basically from my Saudi brother, and like our review. And actually, there's a picture of me and him on the Google Maps. Like, I've been doing the thing, and it's horrible because it's so much open source intelligence, and I can see my professor just like grinding his teeth, like, "What are you doing?" All this, like, telling him everything. Like, no, it's okay because I got people like him probably watching my every move anyway. So, nah, I mean, in this day and age, don't try any of that. You know, watch the videos, learn coding, learn IT, go get you a good job. I mean, and it's really only a couple of years of nonsense. And I know I've had a lot of odd jobs. That's why I want to. In fact, I have it written somewhere, but I like to go through it just kind of let people know like my experience in this whole social experiment called life was, I worked. Well, we can even run through it real quick. All through high school, I worked. I worked every summer at Kay's Dairy Delight. It was like a burger joint, basically a Dairy Queen. What they do now, food, soft serve ice cream, and it was awesome. I worked there with like all the like beautiful cheerleaders. Like, I mean, the boss was a total sleazeball, and he'd like hire only the most attractive girls, and like, which was kind of weird because he was like a grandpa and stuff. I mean, I love Charlie. He's rest in peace to him too. But sorry, I shouldn't use names. But my boss, my boss is because it was a married couple, and she just kind of like put up with his nonsense, like rolled her eyes a lot of times, and he was all drunk all the time. Like, it's okay. I mean, there was a lot of drinking going on there, but not during workout. I mean, well, maybe him, but not like us, the staff. We were in high school and whatnot. So, anyways, worked there, liked it, liked having money. So then I started working more. Oops. Then I started working during the winter time too. So I got a busing job. That was around the time I broke my hand. Um, we won't go into that, but it wasn't drywall. We'll leave it at that. But yeah. Um, yeah, worked as a busboy, and then let's see, then started working at the ski resort. I think senior year, junior year. My point is, as I worked a lot, and then I started working at a restaurant, a truck stop restaurant, and then I started working at or doing construction with that dude that passed away. He did concrete. I did framing, and there was like just like well, actually, there were a couple places that built houses in Buena Vista, but Vista Builders was like one of the biggest, and they had their own Vista Concrete was like in the same company, it's like a different department, and so my buddy did concrete while I do the wooden frames of houses, and then he'd be pouring the next lot over, and we'd chit chat and all that. He'd make this ridiculous noise we call killing the giraffe, and go, and oh yeah, I can't do it justice. He did it like he would like squeeze his throat, like just let out a yelp. But anyways, um, yeah, we worked. I mean, there was no. In fact, he's family owned an auto body shop. Like, so he was already like doing mechanicy type things and auto body things, and I don't even remember what all they did. In fact, I think it was like diesel and auto body or something. But um, either way, so he was mechanically inclined with vehicles, which I was not. I mean, my dad didn't really teach me a whole lot. He showed me how to change my oil, and so did one of my knucklehead friends. But aside from that, I didn't know squat about cars, tires, and oil. So sorry, I just remember when I smacked that deer and pretty much totaled my car. Anyways, Buena Vista, it's a hoot. Small town, really boring, a lot of stuff going on. Idle hands are the devil's plaything. Like, that is so true. I mean, when you're bored, you got nothing to do, you start doing dumb stuff. I mean, like, think Tommy Boy, Chris Farley and all that, like cow tipping, or what have you. I mean, still cheeky fun stuff. We weren't, like, ridiculous or anything, at least until we got older, but... And then it's off to college and go do your shenanigery elsewhere. But no, so I told the Pope that the alcohol is the devil's sweat, which is ridiculous because it's also the blood of Christ, and so then there could be some mixed signals, mixed messages there. And so, not my intention though. I kind of thought about that after I hit, post, because it's on the X app now. And again, like, I mean, he can block me if he wants, but, like, I'm trying to be respectful. And basically just saying, like, waiting for somebody to challenge me, be like, hey, because that's happened in the past when I've tried to talk to him. Like, they're like, hey, now, no, this is that. But nobody's really speaking up and being like, no, dude, like, alcohol's great. What are you talking about? Cannabis? Whew, that's dangerous. It's because the rest of most of the world is realizing this. Anyways, and why do I keep talking about it? Because it is ultimately going to lead to to changes. Changes in staffing, changes in leadership, changes in everything. I mean, even as the generations get, you know, the younger generations start taking over, and it just makes more sense too. I mean, the world as it is today is going in that direction. So, as far as all substances, I don't know. That seems kind of risky, but at the same time, like, it's already really risky because we are at war with ourselves. I mean, if you get caught doing any of that stuff, you could spend like years in prison, like, and then you become like a soldier for some ridiculous army fighting the other way, like, and then it goes back and forth, and it's dangerous for all the people involved. And I mean, there's a lot of money in it, and so that's the thing is once you get rid of all of that overhead, and that kind of ties back into it. Not only are we going to be getting rid of a bunch of bank business, we're going to be getting rid of a lot of Department of Corrections business, meaning prison. That's what Department of Corrections is. And and it's not going to happen overnight, but already we're seeing a lot of it. Like people are going to community corrections, halfway houses, work release, in-house rehabs, like for a lot of the same stuff that used to be you'd go to like prison. And we have the world's biggest prisons in Colorado. Like I think the Supermax is down there by Florence. I don't even know. I think I've been by it. So I just remember my mom saying, "Yep, that's that over there, or that's a federal prison over there," and like, they're just ridiculous things. In fact, spoilers. You see somebody in Better Call Saul go to a Colorado prison. I'm not gonna say who. Anyways, so go watch the show. It is amazing. Like the social engineering in it. I mean, it's also like something to look out for. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, how many different ways could this problem been avoided preventatively? Like there's the reactionary, like, and that's what these mafiosos and cartels and all that they end up having to do, or that at least they feel like they have to do. When and even that's going to go away too. Like there's so much of the black market is cannabis, like, or at least it used to be. But now that it's becoming legal everywhere, and like even if you do get caught with it, like I don't know. Even when it was illegal, I had a friend who got caught like with a piece while he was, yeah, and $30, $30 ticket, fine for the paraphernalia. No probation, no nothing. I mean, he was under 18, but like, anyways. And that's up in the mountains where it's supposed to be so savage and everything. But like, you get caught. I had another buddy. I met him in college, community college, and like, he got caught with a little bit of bud down in Old Town, and he was ex-military. Like, and so I was like, wow, you got in trouble, huh? Like, that's some fine how do you do? Like, serve your country and then you get busted with bud, like, because this was also before it was legal, and he was telling me I think he got probation for it, like a year or two. Couldn't drink, couldn't smoke, couldn't, you know, not that you could anyway. Like technically it was illegal at the time, but like he had UA, so they were testing for it, making sure that he wasn't. And it's like, wow, way to thank a veteran, like, bust him. But at the end of the day, it's business. It is a bit of business, and the capitalistic way is to make money off of these ventures and start, investing. And that's where you get these ridiculous interest rates and these obligations. So it's kind of like the unseen hand guiding these things. It's like some kind of finance or economic thing, but yeah, the unseen hand of something, I forget. But these driving factors to where this happens. And we have such social inequality and ridiculous too. People getting extremely wealthy while the poor are getting extremely poor. And the idea of buying a house, not a reality for a lot of people. Like it used to be super easy. There's tons of memes out there about it. Like, my parents, let's buy a house. Yes. And then me today, oh, I better not buy this pack of ramen noodles because I got to make it till next payday. Like, or the lights are going to get turned off. And even that too, like our power, our electricity, it's becoming better to produce. Like, I mean, we've got some expensive changes coming up, like getting rid of all the indoor gas, like, and then those people that made money off of gas, like, we got to get something for them because the demand's going to go down. Like the Saudis, they're diversifying. They've got this great shipyard that they just built. I mean, I have friends that work there, although I say that, but I think that same friend is already moved. I don't want to say anything in case they're watching, but I know someone that works there. We'll just leave it there at that. But yeah, they're diversifying into other businesses, other ways of, and in fact, they're even talking about making that like really long, really thin city that's super high tech and super efficient, so they don't have to worry about wasteful, use of resources, and especially polluting with certain resources like fossil fuels. Granted, it's not going to be overnight. Again, like, none of it's going to be overnight. And same with Dubai. Like, Dubai is trying to do all these other things, just buying up all these businesses. I can't really think of anything right off the top of my head, but I know I've had discussions about it, like, oh, they're doing this, or in fact, my cab driver there gave me a whole earful about what they're all doing. If I ever become famous, I'll have to reach out to those types of people. I plan on it anyway. I got one phone number, one of the cab drivers in India. Yeah, my boy. Well, again, no names. We'll leave the names out, but. Hmm. Oh, and that's the alarm. So the moral of this episode was we can do these great things and these great changes, and they're on their way anyway. Whether no matter what, like it's gonna happen. That's just the direction we're headed. If Colorado is an experiment, same with California and Oregon. We were like the three first states to ever legalize cannabis, and our experiment is working. We're you know doing really well. There's also a lot of problems too, because I think Oregon decriminalized just about everything, and that's kind of where you get into like the Wild West, which I mean, even when I was out there visiting last time, someone got shot in the park, like, not too far from me. So I was like, okay. But anyways, on that note, so we got to do these great changes and these wonderful things, but we need to Indiana Jones it and put a bag of sand in its place, but better than sand. We're gonna, fix it, make it better, make people's lives cheaper, and then give them better wealth and power. So, wow, that's a lot. All right, ta ta for now. I'll see you in the next one.